looking at P2, and P2 needs us to explain the principles and the characteristics of IoT systems and or services from different sectors. Now I'm going to ignore the different sectors part for now, just because what I'm going to do is grab everything from the spec, speak about everything, and automatically that should cover all the sectors that we've mentioned or listed before. Now the first one is called A2, Principles that Underpin IoT Systems and Services. This is from the spec as well. Nothing here is new, nothing here is from me. And A3, also from the spec, is Characteristics of Systems and Services. So both of these sections are from the spec directly. Now it says we need to speak about principles and characteristics. So if I scroll down, the very first thing I have again, which is what I tell everyone to do, your reports are supposed to be written in a way that anyone who picks up your report or paper will be able to read it and generally understand what's going on. Hence, I tell people to define as much as they can, explain as much as they can within reason. So it says here principles is defined as given the definition for the term or the word principle, and that's it. Make it a single sentence and also add it to your reference list. Not only does it give you more references and force you and teach you how to reference properly, but it also defines or explains that term for someone who doesn't really fully understand what it means. We also have characteristics is defined as another single sentence and reference it as well. Now these things here in blue, this is what I actually typed into Google to get good definitions, right? So I said principles is defined as and characteristics is defined as. If I click on these links, it's going to take me to Google somewhere and it's going to give me the definition of what that actually means. So when I put this website, this document online, you guys will be able to click on these links and do just the same thing, or now just type that into Google, define the word principle and also define the word characteristics. Now funnily enough, characteristics comes under two separate headings for IoT. We have general and we have technical. I think for this video I'm going to focus mainly on IoT principles, and the second video I think I will split this in two. The second video I'll focus on IoT characteristics, both technical and general. So now you know the definitions. We have definitions of both of these. This is a single sentence. Again, don't make it too long, please. This is another single sentence once it's understood, and maybe another sentence underneath stating that characteristics of IoT fall into two general categories, funnily enough, general and technical. Any which way you want to word that is fine. I'm brainstorming here, so it might sound a bit weird. All right. So I say steal from the specification or use Google search criteria below. I say Google search principles of IoT, and you should also Google search characteristics of IoT. Whichever you choose to do is okay. For me, I'm going to steal from the spec. That's what I showed you guys earlier. So this is A2 for principles, and we have A3 for characteristics. So you should always have the specification with you because it's going to be your best friend. Now I'm going to deal with principles first, as I mentioned. So I said principles, IoT principles, can be described as, you find a definition somewhere, you reference it as well. Make this a single sentence, maybe two. Don't make it too long-winded. It simply needs to let the person know what IoT principles are. Because in P1, I believe we've already described or defined or explained what IoT is. So we're slowly building on that knowledge again. The next thing we have, some principles of IoT are, list the ones from the spec, reword them to shorten or simplify. So let me scroll up again. Just scrolling up in the same document. This is a screenshot from the spec. And the first one here says the collection and analysis of data to trigger and it goes on and on and on. I just reworded it to be the collection and analysis of data, or data collection and data analysis. That's it. Done and dusted. The next one, again, look at what you have on the spec and reword it to something that makes sense for you. I have reliance on existing infrastructure. I have real-time data. I have analog data, always on connectivity, and spectrum of insight. Now, I would go into more detail for each one, expand and give examples where possible. This is definitely cheating, as I've said here, but still do it because it's from the spec. It's not wrong. So the first one says data collection and analysis, or data collection, and let me put data analysis here. And I say, what is it? Why is it important? And give an example where possible. These are the three or four things I think you should do for every single thing on this heading. Right? So each of these 6 points, you're going to do exactly the same process for everyone. It's going to be different definitions and different examples where possible, but you do this for everyone. So what is data collection? Simply to collect data, but we cannot use collection in defining data collection. So it's to gather all the data that you might need for a specific task, or just to gather all the data in general, right? And to analyze the data. When we get data, we normally cannot pick out discernible pieces of information from it. So when we look at a large data set, sometimes, I don't know, Microsoft or Google, when they get data, it's impossible for them to know exactly what's going on straight away, and most companies as well. So what they have to do, they have to analyze the data. When they analyze the data, they run it through an algorithm. Nowadays, they can use AI, they can use Microsoft Excel, they can use Python, they can use whatever language they want, to be fair. What that does, that is able to look at patterns and pick out specific pieces of data, which they can then turn into information. For example, the example I would give is, if Apple knows that people buy iPhones every year, year on year, how did they actually collected information? Sorry, they collected data first to see how many iPhones are being sold on a year-to-year basis. And they also know that people are willing to pay for the newest iPhone. So they analyze the data and they collected some information from that to see who the target audience is, how much they're willing to pay, how much they pay for apps, how much they pay for iCloud storage, how much they would pay for AirPods, all of these things. And that's how they're able to make a decision, because they have the data collected, they analyze the data, and they got the information that they needed to make a decision. So that's how I would do something like this. It doesn't have to be as wordy as what I just said. It could just be 4 or 5 lines. The first line being, what is it? Second line, why is it important? Third line, give an example where possible. Next, we have reliance on existing infrastructure. So comms. That's what I've put in brackets there. What is it? I'm going to use the example of the internet. Perfect one to use. What is it? So what is reliance on existing infrastructure? We use, or we make use of something that's already there, that already works, that's already somewhat efficient, that can complete the task that we have to complete. There's a saying that goes, don't reinvent the wheel. If there's something there that already does what you need to do, use it and try and build on it later on. Why is this important? We don't want to waste time. We don't want to waste money. We don't want to waste research and development in general. Give an example where possible. Imagine every single time Apple had to create a new iPhone 13, 14, I think 15 is coming out at some point this year or next year. Every time they had to make a new iPhone, they had to recreate a version of the internet from scratch. Would it make sense? It That simply means, if when the new iPhone comes out, if it was not able to use the 3G, 4G, or 5G networks that are already there, it just would be a disaster, complete disaster. So when we rely on existing infrastructure, that could be good or bad, but if we rely on something that's already there that works really, really well, it's a benefit to us. Real-time data, what is it? Why is it important? You guys might have heard of RTOS before. Let me put that in bracket as well. RTOS, that's real-time operating systems. These are things that need to be super, 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 super fast, super quick. What is it? It's simply a way to capture data as something is happening. So for example, let's say when Usain Bolt is running, right? When he's running, every single step that he takes, we can monitor how many meters each step covers. Or when a car is racing, we can monitor how fast the wheels are rotating. We can monitor every time the driver brakes. Real-time data. Why is this important? Because we might need to make split-second decisions. What if two trains are going down the track at the same time, opposite directions, but they're coming to collide in the center somewhere? If we don't have real-time data, we won't know what's happening until it's already happened. So it makes sense to have real-time data so that we know exactly what's happening in real time, so we can make quick decisions. Give an example where possible. I think I just gave two. The car example, where he's checking the speed of the tires and the rotation and the braking and the gassing and all of that. And we had Usain Bolt as well, and we had the train tracks as well. Analog data is very important. We have two types of data. Now I might be branching off too much here, but bear with me a second. This is another heading again, and it should also be, what is it, why is it important, and give an example where possible. What is analog data? Analog data is data that we humans see and use in the real world. Computers use digital data, zeros and ones, and analog data has a range. So my voice right now is analog data that's been converted into digital values for my computer. Analog data has a range, and if you design IoT systems to not make use of analog data, it's going to be catastrophic again. because we as humans, everything we do and interact with between ourselves is analog. When I shake someone's hand, it is not digital. It's not shake or not shake. It's shake, but with what strength? When I speak right now, I'm speaking at a specific value. I can increase the sound of my voice, and I can decrease the sound of my voice. I can increase the pitch and so on and so forth as well. So IoT systems must be able to analyze or gather or collect analog data, because that's what the real world consists of: analog data. Give examples where possible. Um, the microphone I'm using right now. An IoT system could be attached to a microphone like the camera I have in my house. So when someone is there, I can speak to them, they can speak to me, so on and so forth. Always on connectivity, pretty straightforward. I mean, you always have something connected to something else. It could be via Bluetooth, it could be via Wi-Fi. When I am not at home, for example, I can log onto my mobile phone, my tablet, my laptop, and I can actually look at the camera in my house and see exactly what's going on. Why is this important to IoT? Something I left off actually. Why is it important to IoT should be the question you ask for every single one of these things, not just generally, but why is it important to IoT? Um, the whole purpose of IoT, Internet of Things, is that it needs to be connected to multiple things. So devices that are connected to multiple things. So it has to technically always be connected, or at least have a relatively quick polling rate to check what's happening.